If Ag-Gag was here, I don't know if it is, would you have been able to have made the film?
No, it's Bill 156 has passed in a region of Canada, not the whole of Canada, but it's pretty scary because Canada, you know, as the world's nations go, is one of the more progressive in many ways. And you think if an ag-gag law can get past there, that, you know, it does worry me. And the reason it worries me is because it's against all the most basic human of rights, because it actually stops totally peaceful demonstrations, for example, in Toronto, outside the abattoir, where they've been demonstrating as part of Pig Save for a long time now. So they just have an agreement where the lorries stop for 2 minutes, as you well know, and people talk to the pigs. On a hot day, they will be giving them water and showing them some kindness. And to make this stand, because what sometimes I think about is, you know, in the future, if you look back on this in 20 years, 40 years, whatever, and you know, our children and our children's children say, what did people do? Did they allow these animals just to go in these slaughterhouses without anyone saying it was wrong? And, you know, I think it's really important to make that stand to say, you know, this is completely, you know, we don't agree with this at all. It's completely torturous. And there are people who do care across the world. And what they want to do is make that illegal. And that's what they've managed to do in Toronto. So, in fact, you cannot have any peaceful demonstration on publicly owned land. So this isn't private land. So that goes against the most basic of human rights. But even further than that, the ag-gag law allows for prosecutions against the individuals. It allows for fines. So if you're caught investigating, like I do, factory farms, the first fine is $15,000. The second fine is $25,000 to the individual. So you can see where I'm going with this. They're actually trying to shut down any kind of investigation of factory farms, slaughterhouses, transport. And it's really shocking that, you know, the powers that be have allowed this to go ahead, and don't think that people didn't protest, because they did. About 40 lawyers got together to stop it, and human rights groups are against it, because, as I say, it's against the most fundamental basics of freedom of speech as well. So, and it's gone through.
Can that be overturned?
Well, Regan Russell died, of course, as we all know, very tragically. She was protesting actually this ag-gag law going through the day after it had passed, and she'd been to that site many, many times before, where the pig lorries were going into the abattoir, and one of the lorries ran her over, and her husband has vowed that for the rest of his days he will try to overturn this ag-gag law. Anything is possible, Wendy, because in the US, in certain states, ag-gag laws have been introduced and then they have been overturned. What I would say is it's usually taken several years to do that, and you have to have the resources behind you to fight legally, and also the time, you know, for some people, obviously, not everyone is in a position to do that. So, sorry about that.
That's all right. No.
So not everybody's in a position to be able to do that, but obviously that is the intention, is to fight the good fight until it's won. Because obviously you don't want to set precedents like that in the Canada. It's very worrying that would be passed there.
It's terrifying.
As far as I'm aware, I haven't read anything or been told anything by Toronto Pig Save that the lorry driver has been arrested. I know that the police were looking through the CCTV footage at the beginning, because I was told that, and obviously they would.
Yeah.
And I know lots of people have used the word murder, but as far as I'm aware, he has not been arrested.
Well, I was at an establishment not very long ago where the owner just asked one of the drivers, shouted to one of the drivers to run one of our peaceful people over. So it seems
actually one of the ag-gag laws, sorry to you just reminded me there, because in fact one of the lawyers investigating this Bill 156 said it encouraged exactly that, and because it loosened the law in terms of them being able to, for want of a better word, attack the protesters. So that's another worrying thing about it, that it almost encourages the factory farmers, for example, to attack the investigators, or again, like this, you know, the lorry drivers, you know, to play with people's lives. You can imagine, you've seen the size of these trucks. They're 3 stories high. You know, they're absolutely gigantic. And obviously I cannot make any comment in terms of what happened to Regan. I wasn't there. Sadly, her dad was there, which is just heartbreaking. You know, he was in his, or is in his 80s. And to see your daughter die like that, oh my God. But, you know, all we can do is, as a movement, is to honour her name and keep fighting for these animals, which obviously is what she would want.
And the most peaceful of people trying just literally just to shine a light on these dark practices.
Yeah, Toronto Pig Save, Anita, who set up the whole thing, the whole animal save movement, one of the really strict things that contracts, if you like, you're sort of signing by becoming part of it, is that it's strictly peaceful. I mean, I'm going to Tulip's one of the biggest pig slaughterers in the UK, and there's a big abattoir that's near Bristol. Viva's offices are in Bristol, and we're doing something, you know, to commemorate Regan this Friday.
Oh wow.
And you know, the whole, you know, I've been there before. There is an understanding, if you like, that has developed with those drivers, where they do stop for 2 minutes. Some of them, you can see they really don't like it. They're very uncomfortable with it, and you can see it deeply annoys them. And then you'll get other drivers who actually, for whatever reason, actually want to engage with you and talk to you. You know, and in fact, the security guy there has gone vegetarian. You know, so you know, people say you'll never change anybody like that, but you do change people, because you have to remember these lorry drivers, that they've probably never been challenged about this in their entire life, and to suddenly think about what they're actually doing must be quite a wake-up call. And as we all know, when you are challenged on something that you're a part of, your initial reaction often is anger at the beginning, before you work through that and get to another place. But that makes you a dangerous person at the beginning when you're angry. And the last thing you want to do is encourage, you know, people to have a go at the protesters when they're in a vehicle that's exceptionally dangerous. But yes, you're right. It is wholly peaceful. Those demonstrations are always totally peaceful and respectful.